welcome to the Cemoh Marketing Podcast. This is being live streamed on LinkedIn and also on TikTok up here as well. So Selina, you're being live streamed everywhere. And this is going to be the first of a different format for these episodes. And I've roped in my good friend Selina, which we'll talk to her in a second. But what we're going to do is we're going to try and help Selina build a marketing plan live as we talk here. So Selina and I have known each other for a long time. She's been to a lot of our events. She now runs a business called HSA Growth. So let's get that out of the way. Welcome to the show, Selina Donnelly. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Tell me what HSA Growth do first up, because that's obviously...
So we are a finance brokerage.
Okay.
Similar to how a mortgage broker works, but with more of a focus on the commercial side. So what that means is I love working with business owners, small business owners, medium business owners, and I work similar to how a mortgage broker works when you're looking for a home loan, but I help people with business finance. So it's a big world out there. There's a lot of lenders, and not everyone really knows where to go when their business needs money. So that's what I'm here for.
Fair enough. Okay. So before we talk about the sort of marketing side of your business, let's talk about your background, because it's not like you decided to go into finance last week. You've been involved with sort of finance one way or another for I was going to say a long time, but I don't want to.
We don't want to give my age away. Yes.
I don't want to reveal that to people, because you obviously look a lot younger than you are. Anyway, you've been doing this for a while, haven't you?
Yes, I have. So yeah, I started my career in banking, kind of just on a whim, needed a job, got a job in the bank, fell in love with it, fell in love with the ability to be able to help people in ways that they weren't confident with, that I could become confident with, and then provide solutions for them. So I started my career in retail doing home loans, very quickly learned that the self-employed side of it is much more exciting. Business owners are amazing because they always have these incredible ideas. Most business owners are highly skilled at what their business is, but when it comes to finance or running the other side of it, they need support, they need help. And it can be really difficult when your business needs something to help it grow and not really knowing where to go or having the time to do that. So I worked as a commercial banker between Westpac and ANZ for, say, 15 years, and I loved it. I thought it was great, but I really just started to feel like I was hitting a point in my career where I was providing my customers with what the bank thought the solution was rather than what the client needed. So commercial brokers aren't as common as mortgage brokers, and it's a tough world out there. So, but what became more apparent and more important for me was being able to help my customers with what they need rather than what the bank's product is offering. So the more I looked into it, the more I realized there were multiple lenders available and that a lot of my business owners were time poor. So I decided to start HSA Growth because I didn't want to just be a finance company. I wanted to be a partner in a small business to help them grow when it comes to the finance side. So I work alongside business owners that are either, in that growth phase or wanting to acquire or wanting to just completely revamp or buy equipment. And I help them do the finance so they can keep doing what they do best.
Right. And HSA Growth is how old today?
2 years, just over 2 years old.
2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. How time flies when you're, and is it still just you? Do you have staff yet?
We have some really amazing, I didn't do it on purpose, I swear, but I have ended up with quite a few women working around me. And I don't think of the girls as staff, I think of them as partners as well. So they've come in because they wanted to learn finance or they were intrigued by what I was doing, and it's an opportunity for them to learn something different, grow, and then support me in my endeavors and crazy ideas.
Okay. That sounds lots of fun. And so I guess pretty obviously the first question I want to ask is, when you go out on your own, there's this, everyone sits there and goes, wouldn't it be great to own your own business and things like that? But at the end of the day, it's a little bit daunting. Would that be a fair assessment?
Absolutely. It's probably a nice thing to share here would be, I have my daughter, which most people know, but she's now 20, and the timing isn't by accident. So I started the business when Hannah turned 18 because I was a single mum for most of her life. Having that secure income, which I'm sure most people feel, like just having that security was more important to me.
Yeah.
So when she turned 18, I finally had the courage to take the leap. And
Like,
I wish,
piss off out of my house now. Go and get your own job.
let's face it, she's still 100% a financial burden and still lives with me, which I'm totally okay with. However, I don't feel that same amount of pressure. So I had that courage, and look, it's worked out really well for me. I should have done it years ago, which I'm sure everyone says, but yeah, divine timing.
That's the quote: is when's the best time to start a business? 10 years ago or today. Those are the only two options. So, okay, so look, you obviously went into this, though I am guessing, with a network of contacts. That's obviously where we met through networking events. You knew people, you knew enough people to potentially start having conversations. Is that a fair assumption that sort of, yes, it is daunting going out on your own, but when you've done the sort of prep work and built a network of people around you that you can lean on, I guess that makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, and I think that was definitely my thought process. And everyone kept saying to me, like, so many people, you've worked so hard in this industry, you'll be fine. But it's never really as simple as that, because even for the first 12 months, I lacked somewhat confidence. So I think that came across to my clients. I believe it's only been the last 12 months that I've 100% known I can do this. And I think that's starting to rub off. So it's coming back tenfold. No matter what, no matter how many connections you have or how many people you know, there's still always that it's something new and you're still finding your feet. And the same as, like, I feel for my clients is, you're good at what you do. I still had to run a business. I still had to think about marketing. I still had to do all these things that are not my forte, as well as doing finance for people. So running your business means you're putting on 4 or 5 hats rather than just doing what you're good at. So that definitely was difficult for the first 12 months.
What's the scariest part of doing it on your own, in terms of where you suddenly went, shit, I'm out of my depth here?
I think the scariest part is knowing what to prioritize. So you need to prioritize doing the deals to get the income, but then you also need to prioritize the business development side or the marketing side or the meeting the lenders side. So I know what's happening in the market, but 5 of those 6 things don't produce income. So it's really hard to work out what's more important. And when I worked at the bank, all I needed to do was write the loans. So I think that's something I didn't really consider before I started the business. And that's probably what I find hard, is working out what hat to put on in the morning.
And did you do the classic thing when you're starting a business, which the first year you'll just take any fucking customer? I don't care who they are. If there's some revenue in it, if there's a bit of profit in it, I'll have them, I'll sign them.
Absolutely.
You even against your better judgment, you take people that you knew you shouldn't.
I was so confident when I was in the bank. Like, I knew what a deal was. I was so comfortable to turn a client away if it was going to be work where I wasn't going to get any success from, because I knew the next deal would be coming in the door. But when it's your own business, it's completely different. And not even just that. And there'll be people who know me that are going to laugh, because when I first started, I was very firm on, I will only be doing commercial finance. That's what I do. I'm only going to be doing small business finance. And everyone kept saying to me, no, you'll do home loans because you'll need the income. And I was like, absolutely not. I do home loans. I do quite a lot of them, and I enjoy it now. So you have to take what you can get, and you have to build the relationships so you can get that next deal.
Yeah. It's scary. So, all right. So let's sort of step back. Day one, you've got a network of people, and I think that's probably, marketing lesson number 1 is that if you can move into a new job with a transitionary network, contacts, things like that. What did you do? Did you just kind of? They obviously all knew you were starting your own business, but. Did you have any restrictions of trade, or would you just pick up the phone and call them all, or how did you go?
Yeah, it's a lot of back to the basics. I think some of the really good structure I learned from working in a bank is to make 10 calls before 10 a.m. So
right, okay.
And I kind of stuck with that, and it's interesting because when you're in a PAYG job and you have these markers you have to hit, and your manager's watching you, you hate it. But I went straight into the business following the exact same structure because that's what built my success. So And I didn't just call like potential business owners. I would call potential referral partners. I would take people out to lunch. I would do all of the things I did as a business development manager in a bank or a finance company into my business. But it was different because I think to a certain degree, I underestimated having a well-established brand sitting behind my name. In finance, you're asking people for their financials. You're asking them for their ID. You're asking for very, very personal information. And say I have a Westpac or ANZ brand sitting behind me, that's a little bit different to, hey, here's my new company. Can I please have all your personal information? So that was a barrier I had to overcome. And I think it came more from my own confidence in doing that as well. But and I think coming from that, that's why internal referrals or word of mouth is so important, because you're instantly trusted if someone said, hey, Selina helped me, give her a call, rather than you randomly cold calling or them coming to you through, maybe a lead generation.
Yeah. So let's just sort of go into that a little bit more. So word of mouth, networking, is it still, that's still a core part of your business now? Is it, how many of your maybe referrals, or how much business do you think comes in via somebody saying, hey, you need to give Selina a call?
I think 80% of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so my then next question to you, which is one of those curveballs when I hear that, because when I sort of do mentoring for the Queensland government, you get all these people going, my business was born out of referrals and word of mouth and all those kind of things, and I go, hey, that's great, but what happens when that stops, or what happens when that slows down? Because the danger of building a business, and you're 80%, so we'll talk about the other 20% in a minute, right?
Yeah.
But the other 80, but the danger is that you become dependent on other people referring you.
You also become the sole income earner, right? So the way I see that as well, and I work with businesses in this space, is you don't want your income to be reliant on you as the owner, because what if you want to take a step back, or you want to bring in, your business needs to be able to bring in leads that don't rely on you bringing them in. Yeah. And you see it all the time. You have massive companies who make a lot of money, but if they stepped out, the business wouldn't be there anymore. So I'm very conscious of that. And marketing has been a very important thing to me for that reason, because I know your branding has to be recognizable. It has to be out there. It has to be done right, and it has to be done professionally. So it's definitely something I'm conscious of. It's in considerations at the moment whether my next recruit is a BDM, who's just on the road, going out and building those relationships. Yeah. But it's that balance of, when do you spend money to make money, and where do you put it? They're big decisions that I've never had to make on my own before.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because, again, I've been working with a small law firm in the last couple of weeks where the principal is not necessarily the one that they're all gravitating to, because that business is actually built on SEO, which is again another conversation. But the problem is, when you're in a small law firm and you're the principal, your reputation completely relies on you, or the reputation is yours. So if you screw something up and you screw the reputation up, that's, and from a law firm, that can be, that can be very destructive. Yeah. So what was happening with her was that everyone wanted to talk to her. Like the first calls that were coming in going, I want to talk to a lawyer. And so she was the roadblock. She was the roadblock at the start, which means, because she could only sort of see a certain amount of people. She was the roadblock at the end, because all the jobs needed to be signed off by her. So they needed her approval. And whilst that approval might only take 15 minutes, it was, it was her getting backed up and getting jobs backed up, which meant that if jobs were getting backed up, invoices weren't going out.
Correct.
So, I think it's really important to have somebody like yourself as a leader in the company who can sell, and again, I've known you for a long time. If you put you in front of a client, you probably talk shit for 55 minutes and about whatever it is that you're talking about, and then 5 minutes of business, and you'll get their signature on the bottom of a contract, because that's how you are, right? And that's not a bad thing. That's a really good thing, because it means that you can build rapport with the client. Yeah. But when 80% of that business is reliant on you, your job obviously now in the next year, 2 years, is to get that 80% down to 70%, down to 60%, down to 50%, and eventually zero.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the other 20% because, networking is important and we might come back to that in a minute. But that other 20%, where do you think that's coming from? Or do you know where that's coming from?
Yeah, look, there was a lot of social media posting when I first started, which I did have someone that was doing it for me. We kind of slowed down on that because I got busy. So again, that's
right. That's a red cross against your name.
I
Slowing
know.
down on your marketing when you're getting busy is the worst thing that you can do. It's like as soon as you see a fire, it's like, let's just watch the fire for a bit and warm our hands. You go, no, fucking chuck petrol on it, Selina.
Keep going. Yeah, I know, but I don't have time. So yeah, look, that was probably the space I needed to engage some assistance.
Yeah.
But again, it's that deciding, do I focus on the portion of the business that's going to bring in the money, or do I focus on other portions? So that is the biggest challenge I find. And when I get caught up if I do have a really big deal sitting on my desk, because commercial again is different to mortgage broking. I could, I'm working on one at the moment that's $8 million. It could take me 6 months, but a home loan would only take 6 to 8 weeks. So it's bigger, there's more work, there's bigger reward, but it takes a lot longer. And when you're consumed in something like that, you've got a customer that needs to be updated regularly. It needs to be a priority. You need to follow the lenders up every single day. So marketing or thinking about what my next social media post becomes the bottom of the run, unfortunately.
Okay, so social media, where else do you see it?
Email. We do a lot of email marketing. I have a telemarketer as well. So I have somebody.
Let's just talk about those two things. Email marketing. How big's the database?
I have a couple of sources of how I've gotten that database, but my database is probably up to 10,000 if I wanted to. So I work between 1,500 to 5,000. So not to overwhelm and then get a feel for what works.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not a marketing person, so there's a lot of work that needs to go into that as well.
Yeah. So you could be, again, that's a healthy number of people base. Yeah. I assume, is that coming through sort of a third party supplier or provider or things like that? So But but that seems to be relatively common in the finance world. Is that that's how these things work. Okay, so email marketing. What was the other one you said? Telemarketing. Okay, so tell me about that. So is that somebody just picking up the phone, calling people on your behalf, right? Yep. Okay, and explain to me what they're saying on the phone, because telemarketing gets a very, not necessarily bad rap, but we've all had this thing where people call us up and we just go, just fuck off, will you? I don't want to talk to you.
I'm the worst for it. That's why when it was suggested to me, I was like, oh, okay. But he's great. He's Australian. Just to bias that, but yeah, he does approximately 6 hours of calling a week, and out of that, I get maybe 2 to 3 appointments scheduled. Okay. So he rings a lot of people. That's a really low, but that's how it works in telemarketing.
Yeah.
None of the leads he's provided have turned into an actual transaction yet, but that's how finance works. So he builds rapport and trust with them around what my business does.
Okay.
A lot of them will be like, look, you know what? I don't have any immediate finance needs, but I'd love to still talk to Selina. Right. So then I book a Teams off that, and we just have a little face-to-face, build some rapport, explain what I offer, maybe point out some gaps they might have in their cash flow or other things in their business that they could potentially need help with, chuck them into a database and keep them all.
And is that database that you're calling coming from the same source as your email list, or like how are you finding these people to call?
Just from Apollo AI.
Right. So you're using like some sort of data enrichment or data mining tool. Okay. I mean, I use a team in India actually.
Wow.
And sort of go away and get them to populate. I'll say, hey, give me every business owner in a particular postcode.
Yeah.
And they'll go and do that for me. So, there's AI tools that do that. There's little Indian teams that do that. You can find the right people to do that. Okay, so all right, so you've got your outbound sales. I mean, they're effectively outbound sales calls or outbound marketing calls, whichever one you want to call them, really. What are they saying? What's the pitch?
Well, I've not actually heard him talk, but the feedback I get is really positive. That they think he's great, really easy to talk to. But I think it's along the lines of, Selena's a finance broker. She helps business owners with finance.
Right.
Where's your business at? Do you need some help? I think he sells it more like a wholesome, like an all-round pitch of, not just there to make money off of a deal. She doesn't charge you anything. She does a review, and if she can help, she charges the lender. So It's that, not trying to scam you or get money out of you. We're just trying to see if we can help you, essentially.
Yeah. So my piece of advice with that would be, I think what you're doing is completely right, but I would perhaps get him to call a couple of people, some friends or something like that, and get them to give you some feedback. By all means, tell him that he's calling.
Yeah, so they're prepared for
a spy or something like that. But just say, I want to understand. I want to get feedback. I'm not being critical of what you're doing, but I want to understand what you're saying.
Everything can be improved, right? Yeah.
Totally. I mean, we've got a girl in New South Wales called Kate, who we literally started working with 2-3 weeks ago, and we're going to start doing, I think next week, something like 500,000 calls or something for her over the course of maybe a couple of weeks. And she's done 2 lots of calls for us. And I kind of sat there yesterday and went, when I talk to her, she seems lovely. We talk on video. She's in New South Wales, but I'm like, I really need to get her to call some people that I know. So what I'm going to do next week is go, Kate, here's 3 people. You've got the script. I want you to test the script out on these 3 people. And they will be willing to listen to you, but they're also going to be critical of your capacity to present to them.
So that's great. That's a great idea.
I think that's, because if that can work, I mean, look, you're completely right with what you said earlier on about the emails, is that the conversion rate can be really, really low. But if you're doing it consistently and 2 or 3 new leads a week, totaling that up over 50 weeks of the year is like...
It just makes a warmer database, right? If you receive an email from someone that you've never spoken to, you're more likely to just unsubscribe or delete it. But if, they've had that conversation with the caller, and then I've had a Teams meeting with them, and they're getting those warm follow-up emails, and then a finance need pops up, they want a new car or they need some cash flow, I feel like I'm hoping they'd be more likely to pick up the phone and call me.
So here would be my suggestion for you, because where are all these people? Where are you targeting them? Are they all in Brisbane? Are they all...
The round we've done has been Queensland, because I thought that was, the easiest way. And basically we filtered it down to like people in certain industries. So importing, exporting, manufacturing, that sort of thing, just to try and give the caller more of a focus. Directors, owners, founders, share, like that sort of thing. So we're hopefully targeting business owners, but from what I'm getting, the success rate's pretty good.
Yeah. So here's the challenge that I would see from a balance perspective. And I have to say, I'm going through this same, I was going to call it a moral conundrum. It's not particularly moral, but it's a business conundrum, right? The question for me is what you said. Do I put a business development manager on for, let's say, 70, 80K a year plus bonuses, et cetera, superannuation, which is going up to 12% in a few months' time or whatever, right? So you sit there, and then plus they're going to want a car, and you've got to pay for the petrol and the insurance and mileage. And
then I have to do performance reviews, which I hate.
blah, blah, blah. Right. Look, you can subcontract that out to an HR, external HR person. That's the easiest way to do that. Or do you sit there and go, because throw that all together, right? And you go, that could be 10 grand a month, right? At least. Okay. My challenge to you would be, what if you got your database out and you sat and went, all right, well, here's my top 50 prospects in a particular postcode, right? Yeah. And you did something that cost $10,000 to put them all in a room with you, right? Mm-hmm. I would say to you, knowing you and your personality, and I'm not saying it like you're a party booze hound or anything like that, because we don't want that recorded.
We don't want that. We don't want that on my reputation. No,
we don't. Not at all. But my point being is that if you put, and maybe 50 is too many because you can't get round to 50, right?
Yeah.
But if I put you in a room with 20 key prospects, and you sat there and went, okay, well, I'm gonna do something with them. I'm gonna buy them lunch. I'm gonna
face to face,
whatever it is, right? So maybe you put them in a room with 20, maybe not even 20 key prospects. So let's say 15 key prospects.
Yeah.
5 existing customers who you know really well that will talk about how great Selina is, right?
Yep. See, I'm not marketing. I just wouldn't have even thought of that. Yeah.
And then a couple of your team members as well,
Yeah.
right? Because again, back to one of your earlier points is you don't want everyone coming to the business just because of you. You want, maybe you've got a couple of senior team members that you think, okay, well, they need to start building their own customer database, things like that.
Yeah.
And you put those people all in a room and go, hey, I'm going to feed you a really nice meal and I'm going to get you some nice wine and we're going to have a great time. And I'm not getting up, maybe you get up and make a PowerPoint presentation with 5 slides in it.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe there's another educational element to it. So maybe you're bringing along someone who's,
Lenders would be interested in that as well. So if there's a particular lender that suits that network of clients, that would be brilliant because they have a solution sitting in front of them. And it's also, you get to learn something at the same time.
Yeah. It's a case of doing it with discipline because you have to make these people turn up, which is hard because you've got to drag them out of the office kicking and screaming, right? Yeah. So, that's challenge number one. And if they, as I've done events with me, they all fucking cancel like within the, 24 hours.
Even when you make them pay, they still cancel.
So there's some logistical challenges there, right? So but they're solvable logistical challenges. It sounds like, you've got people within the business. You could sit there and go, hey, let's find a decent restaurant, someone nice that we can do this.
We could do that, definitely.
It's all doable, those kind of things. I think the trick that people miss is that at the end of it, when when it's all done and dusted, and let's say you did this on a Thursday lunchtime or a Friday lunchtime, whatever, is Monday morning, you've then got to do your 10 phone calls, right? Yeah. And pick up to everyone who went to the event, maybe the Tuesday or the Wednesday, go, hey, Selina, thank you so much for coming along to the event. It was lovely to see you. Can you and I catch up for a coffee next week?
Yeah.
Right. And then you're in, and then they've met you in a social environment. They're willing to meet you for coffee. And even if they're not signing yes, I want to work with you today.
No, it's relationships.
You're on their radar 6 months' time or 9 months' time.
And I think the key to that, the second part of that, and again, it's something I learned in banking was even if these particular people that you've now built some rapport with don't have an immediate need, ask them. They know someone else who runs a business. Business owners know business owners. When you're talking to your friends, if they need finance, give them my card. It's that next step of asking for a referral, which I think I do well because that's kind of what was ingrained into me. Yeah,
drummed into you in the banking world. Yeah, absolutely. So look, that's the challenge that I see. I go, do I put 50 CEOs in a room and offer them something, or do I spend 10 grand a month on a business development manager? And to me, I go, look, give me an hour in front of 50 CEOs.
Yeah.
But again, then the challenge for me is that I then question my own follow-up. Yeah. Right? So what I've done is get myself a VA and Jess, and I'll say to Jess, call them all for me. Yeah, call them all for me.
Yeah.
The week after I've met them, let's organise a time to, So,
and I'm similar in that sense. I need someone to do that side because you've got to know what you're good at. You've got to know what you're not good at. And one of the girls that works with me, she says it all the time. You're not good at the admin. Just go out and talk to people. And I love her honesty.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. One of the greatest revelations that you can make in business is to accept how shit you are at certain things.
And employ people who are good at what you're not good at. That's the best way to do it. Yeah.
I've said many times in the last 2 years, if I'm left involved at any point in the production of a podcast, for example, if I'm left at any point to organise anything, it won't happen. The only thing I'm good at is being on the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And maybe doing some initial outreach emails to people that I know like yourself and going, hey, can you be on my podcast? But even when someone says, yeah, I'd love to, I go, right, other Jess, sort that out for me.
Here's the details. Can you fix that? Yeah.
Sort this. Yeah, go away, sort that out. I've done the deal. You go and sort it out. So the moment this is done, this gets downloaded. It gets sent to someone overseas. They do all the editing. They put loads of graphics on it, etc., etc. And then it comes back, and then Jess posts it everywhere. Yeah. So I'm not involved anywhere. Right.
Wow.
The only thing I'm then involved with is making sure I post it on my own LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
And I can probably handle that,
Yeah, hopefully.
So it's that interesting thing about where you acknowledge your own ineptness, and I would probably say a lot of business owners are very inept at a lot of things.
Yep.
And if they're left to their own devices, things will go completely pear-shaped.
But it's why you exist in your business, and it's why I exist in my business.
Yeah.
And if we all just say, hey, I'm a really good engineer, can you do the finance side? Like that's why I had the idea of the partnerships with businesses. Like we need to all do what we're really good at. So
So look, I think what you're doing from a marketing perspective, you know, is ticking a lot of boxes. You're doing all the right stuff. I think your email list is a great opportunity, obviously, you know, but again, email, I think consistency trumps creativity. Yeah. So making sure that that email's going out.
Which I lack on. Yeah.
And
totally. Even the social media side, like I said, that's dropped off completely because I don't have the time. Yeah. And in all honesty, the girls I have, they create creativity. They need me for the content. And if I don't have time to give them that information, it doesn't happen. Yeah.
So I guess probably then the next thing is then, have you experimented anywhere in terms of other digital advertising? Have you, I mean, again, you're a finance, you know, I know fuck all about finance. You don't know much about marketing. So my question to you would be, when people say to you, hey, because you probably get all the emails going, hey, you should have an SEO strategy, or you should do
let me bring your website to number one. I get it every day.
Yeah. It's hellish. It's hellish. Yeah. But have you looked at any of those? Have you had that? Okay. So, you know, I think there is a couple of opportunities for you that doesn't involve you sinking huge amounts of cash, right? Mm-hmm. And again, I would be going business development or marketing, advertising, that kind of, right? So I go, first things first, I think with a massive database like you have, remarketing so that anyone that's coming onto Google or to Facebook or Meta, whatever, sees your adverts because they recognize the email, is just brand awareness. And
you're so out of my realm of expertise or understanding now. But yes, it happens to me. If I look at something, when I log into my computer, it pops up somewhere else. So,
And so you've got those paid ads, and I would go, definitely be sort of looking at that, right? The other thing is search engine optimization. And I go, it's going through a weird time at the moment because AI is becoming so prevalent. And people are asking ChatGPT and all those others. So people are going, who's the best finance broker in Brisbane to ChatGPT?
I do it.
And you want to make sure that you go, how the fuck do I get ChatGPT to tell them it's me? Yeah. You know, and what's happening is ChatGPT and largely the other platforms are all pulling data off Google and, you know, all the other.
Yeah, like I find it's review driven. I've noticed a little bit. Yeah.
There's ways and means of not necessarily gaming it, because they don't like you gaming it, but there's ways and means of encouraging the AI to say this. Anyway, my point being is that, again, taking it all the way back to the law firm that I sort of mentioned earlier on, is she's been running for 4 years now. I think this week alone, on one day, and this is the challenge she's been facing, she received 15 inquiries.
Wow. Right? From Google.
She literally cannot handle the volume of work coming in. Which is an amazing position that everyone would like to be in, right? Hers is very SEO driven. Yeah. And it's been 4 years in the making. And this is the thing I think with SEO, is that people sign up to these, you know, $600 a month or $800 a month or whatever, thinking they're going to get a result in the first month or second month and those kind of things. I think there's a lot of stuff that you could probably do within the existing framework of your business to go, okay, I'm going to start doing some stuff here now with a view that in 3 to 4 years time, I've got 10 leads a week. The website itself is generating me 10 leads a week. Yeah. And you go, how does that then sit with a business development person? You go, what if I did this? The challenge is SEO is such a long game.
Yeah. And you need to, and I think from my experience in the past, I've spoken to marketing firms about it, and they're like, yep, just give me your credit card, we'll set it up. They don't explain how or why. And because I'm so big on explaining how and why in my business, that doesn't sit right with me. I'm like, I'm not giving you money unless I can see a result. What's my ROI? And and instead of explaining it like you just did, that it can be a 3 to 4 year turnaround. Yeah. But and we're going to be making sure that things are done in the background. I'm not going to be comfortable otherwise. So
I'll tell you, one of my consultants, teams, whatever you want to call them. They don't work for me. They're all consultants. She's the ex-head of SEO for American Express.
Oh, wow.
So you need to talk to her because she knows finance and she knows finance.
Correct. That's the exact market I'd like to be. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
So, but she's so knowledgeable and so helpful, and that's all she's done. That's core skill set. And she operates in a couple of ways where she's like, hey, look, give me access to your website. I'll start making some changes on pages, and just, again, she's down in Sydney. It's an Australian-based person. She's got the credentials that she's worked for a bigger company. You've got an option of spending money on something like that or someone like that, or some dodgy SEO company that have just emailed you out of the blue and you've no idea where they're going. It's a no-brainer for me, really. It's like as to which one you would pick. So
I agree.
So, all right. So let's just sort of winding this up. So I think there's a lot of stuff you're doing really well. Obviously, I think there's some gaps there that I think we've spoken about and things that you could do better. I'm still on the fence about a business development manager for someone like you. I actually don't think it's a bad idea. It's it's a cost thing, and of course, how quickly are they going to get results? And I would probably argue if you do it, you want to do it like in the next couple of months, because you don't want to be doing it in October, because I'd imagine your industry dies a little bit in December and January.
Yes. Yeah.
So you don't want to be carrying a business development cost over those 2 months of the year
without income in the pipeline.
Without them having already produced income in the first, the first 8 months of the year or something. Like that. So I think that's one factor to think about. And then I guess probably from a brand perspective, I would probably argue it's just about making more people aware of who you are.
Yeah.
Which there's so many things that you could do, but do you highlight the rest of the team much on, in anything?
We did when we were on top of it. But again, everything's kind of dropped off. There's such an opportunity there because we do attend events. We do go to things. We are a part of other industry community events. But we don't do it enough. Yeah. I need someone that can do that side of it for me because that's not my forte. I like finance.
That's not strictly true. You don't mind a glass of wine and a lunch.
I like networking,
but no, you're right. I mean, and that's the challenge as well. So going all the way back to the start, that networking thing where you go, if I have to go to another boring networking thing, I'm going to stab myself in the head. You don't want to do that. But that's when I then go create your own.
I love that idea, to be honest.
Create the things that you like to do and that you want to do, and bring along the people that you want to convince to work with you. And I think that's one of those ones where they then see the real brand, the real who you are.
Yeah,
it's the fine line between presenting your brand and your company versus presenting Selina.
Yes.
And I think obviously what you need to make sure you're doing is presenting the brand.
Yeah. I 100% agree, because that is a big mistake I see so many successful businesses make, and I see how it affects them, at the end of their tenure or when they're ready to sell. It can have a detrimental effect on that end price. Yeah.
And I tell you what's a funny thing is I do some stuff with a wealth management company based in South Brisbane. And they've actually, funnily enough, they went the wrong way. They went so far in the other direction because it's led by 3 women. And again, you should, hopefully you'll meet them soon. But it's led by 3 women. There's other people running other parts of the business, but the women are what I would call, they've got such great personalities. They're so engaging and fun and knowledgeable about their marketplace, right? Yeah. And when I sort of walked in there 6 months ago, I looked at the brand and just went, God, this brand is depressing. It's another fucking, it's another financial, it's another financial, wealth management company, of which there's fucking so many of them out there. And largely probably the same with finance, right? Yeah. It's men in grey suits selling to men in grey suits, and, and that sort of thing. And one of the things we've tried to do, which might be an interesting thing for you as well, is to go, how do we bring our personality out a bit more? Yeah. The personality of Selina, but also the personality of the whole team. You said it's women,
Yeah.
You don't alienate too many people. You don't want to alienate male customers, but at the same time,
Absolutely not. Yeah.
you guys, there's probably a personality within your organization. Would that be fair to say that there's a sort of distinct personality?
Oh, yeah. And there's not one distinct personality. And I think that's the powerful thing, right? Like there's this, we bring people in for who they are, not to make them the same as us. So you want that dynamic, fun environment, but then also people who are really good at the things they do and they can bring that to the team or to the day, to the attitude. So I encourage all of the girls to speak up. If they don't agree with something, say it out loud, even if it sounds aggressive. Like, I'd rather hear it. Bring it all to the table. Let's talk about everything. Let's bring out who you are.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I would then go, we talk about content and production, social media content. We talk about, meta ads and search engine optimization. All of these things, and events as well, right? So all of these things need to be done with an underlining current of who you are as a brand and a company.
Yeah.
Because if you're just sitting there going, I'm just going to regurgitate the same things that other finance companies are regurgitating,
Well, that's not why I did this. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, so I'd be going, let's try and define that personality. Yes, we have multiple personalities here, but let's try and define it as a company. And then let's make sure that everything we do goes out there and then is really helping people understand who they're dealing with and the brand that they're dealing with. And again, I had this conversation last week again with someone else, and he was saying he started off with this brand that he thought was funky and cool, and they did these things and they did this and they said this and all this stuff. But as he got bigger and bigger and tried to be all things to more people, or all things to all people, all of a sudden they kept pulling these kind of quirky personality parts of the brand out and throwing them away.
Yeah.
And he said, now I've just got this boring brand. He said, we don't do anything fun. We don't communicate in a fun way. We don't have any personality. We're just a functional marketplace. And
because then again, it comes down to that's money in versus right, like why you're doing it. You've got to kind of, I see what you're saying. I want to find my balance as to why, and then also be able to help people. Like it's
totally. I mean, again, another law firm I've been working with on the Gold Coast, their three principles have been very much insistent on a common brand, and it's really served them well. It's really, the brand is identifiable. They look so much better. They look so much different to other law firms, but different without appearing shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's the wrong
without
word.
appearing scary. Like for me, a lawyer's like a dentist.
These guys are family lawyers as well.
Yeah.
So it's
even worse. Yeah.
They've got to really appeal to families, and they've got to appear friendly. So, all right, look. Last question for you today.
Okay.
What's the long-term plan? Do you see yourself doing this forever until you retire, until you eliminate the burden of a 22-year-old or 20-year-old?
She's telling me she's at uni for 8 years, so it could be a while.
Yeah, she sounds like a freeloader, Selina. I like it.
She better be good. No, I guess that's a really good question, because I ask a lot of my business owners that. So it's interesting that I'm struggling to answer it. I don't know. I think for me, I have no immediate plans for it to ever end. I don't really see retirement for myself, but at this, like for me, it would be to create a really strong business that would be saleable one day. But right now it's my career. It's what I enjoy. And making my career something that I own, that I have the power to build as big as I want.
I think the important thing for that, the way to answer that business, I think there is only one way to answer that business with anyone who has got an ounce of business common sense, is that I'm building a business to sell it, right?
Yeah.
And I say that with the sort of point of saying we don't have to sell it, right? But
it needs to be saleable.
You need to build a business that can be sold.
Correct.
Because anything could happen in terms of your health, your family, all those kind of things. If there is a point when you sit there and go, do you know what? I need to pull the plug on the business. I need to take myself out of it. I can cash in. There's $2 million if I sold it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm gone. Mortgage paid off, superannuation done. I can, whatever it is. But I think everything you do should be sitting there going, how do I sell this business? Or how do I make this attractive enough that someone's going to walk in and go, hey, we'll give you 6 times earnings or 8 times earnings. I don't know what.
100%. Otherwise, you're essentially working to pay yourself a wage, and that's not the reason
Otherwise,
you run a business.
you've created a job.
Yeah, correct.
You've created yourself a job.
With extra headaches. Yeah.
Yeah. And with the worst boss in the world.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I always say is that I've started myself a job with the worst boss in the world.
Yeah. If you don't get to have holidays ever.
But there's those 5 stages, and I've got a sort of little infographic on that. But it's like, you know, job. I think it goes something like job with staff, job with more staff and profit.
Yeah.
And then business.
Yeah.
Right. So the first 4 stages are still job. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I've now got staff, and yes, I'm now making profit. But unless you can extract yourself out of it, you still just have a job.
Correct. Yeah.
Once you've got more staff and profit, you sit there and go, okay, how do I now turn that into a business that I'm not?
Can I make profit without being in the business? That's the question. And that's
who's making the profit now? Is it me or is it the staff?
Correct.
Because if 80% of it is still you've still got a job.
Yeah.
If 10% of it is you've got a business.
Yes.
You can extract yourself out. You could potentially take a 10% drop in revenue, and you can sit there and go, "Hey, I've got
a retirement fund, a much better one.
Chairperson of the board, and I now come in for a half-a-day meeting once a month."
Exactly. There you go. There's my goals.
Yeah. So that's what I often then say, now model that out. So go and look at what that looks like over there, and then work your steps back.
Yeah.
Because if you can do that, you can then, because if you look at that, you look at it, how do I get to there from here? You can't see the path.
Well, you need those core function abilities, right? Like, even just having this conversation with you, I knew the gaps were there. I can start to see where the little things I need to work on now, so I can focus on other things.
Yeah. I mean, we did it on Wednesday. It's Friday today when we're recording this, but I did it on Wednesday. My business partner and we had another guy, Michael, sitting in for 2 hours with the both of us. And Michael doesn't know our business, not intimately anyway. He understands what we do because he has a background in advertising and marketing and recruitment. But he just sat and asked us questions.
Yeah.
And
just make you think. Yeah.
And we're both sitting there. He goes, right, what do you think, Matt? And what do you think, Simon? I'm like, and sometimes we're both in complete agreement. And sometimes we're off in this dichotomy of opinions. So, but it really then brings you back to go, okay, what do you need to be doing to achieve what it is you guys want to achieve? And we're very much about, hey, we'd like to sell the business.
Yeah, but that's when your branding needs to be right from the start. And if SEO works and if my brand is strong, that's sellable. That's something someone's going to want to take ownership of. Yeah,
absolutely. And even if it isn't sellable, the next question you have to ask yourself is, if you opened your business in Sydney tomorrow, how would it go?
Would it? Yeah.
And if you're saying 80% of that, your business is referrals or, people that know you, you can guarantee that if you put this business in Sydney next week, nothing would happen.
It wouldn't work now because I'd need to be there and start from scratch again. But that's not how I want the business to function. No. Yeah.
Or you then have to employ someone that you sit there and go, well, I'm going to have to put them in Sydney. But if they're going to be a principal, why are they going to do it for me? Why wouldn't they just do it for themselves?
Correct. If they're good enough to do that, they should have their own business.
They should have their own business. You know? So you end up in this kind of horrible, vicious cycle of going, fuck, how am I going to open something in Sydney? And then you have these, conversations about licensing and whatever. On a complete side note there, I would say if you're going to go into a new territory, you need to be starting thinking about that territory 12 months in advance.
Yeah.
And you need to be starting to create demand there. And yes.
And even brand awareness.
Brand awareness, demand.
Yeah.
And you do have to get on a plane.
Yeah.
It's not like the UK where you could drive between London and Birmingham. You've got to get on a plane. You've got to go to Sydney. And then what you do is you grow it in Sydney with that painful backwards and forwards, you going backwards and forwards all the time. But then you need to be able to go, but I'm comfortable now that I can leave Brisbane alone.
Yeah.
I don't need to be...
It can still run. Like the sales aren't going to drop off here because I'm down there. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So there's a lot of work to do.
There is a lot of work to do. But again, testimony to the law firm I mentioned earlier on. She's been doing it for 4 years.
Yeah.
And now is the time when I'm sort of saying to her, right, now we've got to get you out of the business. We've got to extract you from this part. And the key thing isn't extracting her overnight from one part, from all of the business. It's extracting her from all parts of it, right?
Yeah.
Let's take you out of that part first. Now let's take you out of that part, and then let's take you out of that part, right?
Yeah.
And now she may then reassess and use her time elsewhere to do the things that she's good at. Or she might just go, actually, you know what? I'm going to take Friday afternoons off now.
She might want to go play golf. That's what a lot of men do.
She's not a golf person. She's absolutely not a golf person.
Definitely not.
All right, look, hey, that's been great catching up with you again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, look, we need to chat about stuff and hopefully see you for lunch in May.
Yes, I think it got moved, didn't it?
Yeah, that was the worst week of my life because not only did we have all those things moving about, I happened to then get influenza A for about 2 weeks, and I was just
kind of lucky it all got moved then.
Actually, it was because there was no way on earth I would have been able to go to that event in the state I was in. So it was couldn't get out of bed. It was just horrific. That's what happens when you get old, isn't it? But you don't know. You don't know. So was it 20-year-old daughter, 22? Was it 20-year-old daughter?
Yeah.
So what did you have her when she were what, maybe 16?
When I was 20.
16?
But I'm still only 35, just in case.
Absolutely, yeah. That's everyone's kind of, Anyway,
hey.
Thank you very much for being on the show. Really appreciate your time and
having me.
Lovely to see you again.
You too. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, Simon.